Welcome back to Sanish. I'm Joe Carducci, and today I'm coming to you with a heavy heart and a fire in my gut. If you've been paying attention, you know it's been a weekend that will be remembered for all the wrong reasons. Let's start with Minnesota, where we witnessed the unthinkable. A sitting state representative, Melissa Hortman, and her husband were murdered in their home, and State Senator John Hoffman and his wife were shot in a politically motivated attack. The suspect has been apprehended, and authorities are calling this exactly what it is: a political assassination. This is the nightmare scenario we've all feared: political violence right here, targeting public servants in their own homes. Meanwhile, across the country, millions took to the streets for the No Kings protests, rejecting authoritarianism, rejecting the militarization of our democracy, and making it crystal clear that we will not be ruled by a king, no matter how many parades he throws for himself. And speaking of parades, while the nation mourned and marched, Trump marked his 79th birthday with a $40 million plus military spectacle in D.C., complete with tanks, flyovers, and thousands of troops. If you needed a visual for what American authoritarianism looks like, you got it this weekend. It's a lot. It's too much. And yet here we are, still standing, still speaking, still refusing to let fear win. That's why I'm especially grateful to have Rachel Vindman with me today. Rachel is an outspoken advocate for democracy and someone who knows firsthand what it means to stand up to authoritarianism and pay the price. Her husband, Lieutenant Colonel Alexander Vindman, became a household name when he blew the whistle on Trump's perfect call with Ukraine. Rachel's journey from military spouse to activist to one of the most honest voices in our politics reminds us that courage isn't theoretical. It's personal, it's costly, and it's necessary. Hi, Rachel. It's been a minute since we've seen each other screen to screen anyway. How are you?
I'm doing well. Thanks. How are you?
I'm doing as well as anybody can be doing right now.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yes.
I know that you just survived a double birthday party down there.
Yes. Not only that, so it was Alex and Eugene's 50th birthday, and we're just moving back into our house after a huge renovation that we never planned on, and it involves insurance, so that means we're just adding lots of time. And by the way, our house was already fully updated, but we were living out of our house for about 6 months, and I only got like less than 24 hours before the party, which was catered, but still, I got like a kitchen sink. We only had one sink in one bathroom, and so it's been challenging. We dropped our daughter off at camp yesterday, and we got home yesterday afternoon, and I'm just like waiting for the world to join me and relaxing, but I don't think that's going to happen. So
yeah, I don't think it has any intentions of doing that. It's Monday morning, and we've already had a weekend full of news. Of course, you mentioned Eugene and Alex, and their military service is on my mind right now, because one of the things I want to talk about, unfortunately, is Donald Trump's what I call the small in the pants parade. The Army's birthday. Yes, it was the Army's birthday, but that was the pretext for him to throw himself a birthday party. And I want to talk about that because watching it is doing a couple of things to me. First of all, just in the lead up to it, it bothered me because I knew that they were going to be using our troops as props, and that's what happened. But worse than that now, where people are poking fun at the spectacle that unfolded, and it feels as though some of that, is being pointed at our military, which I feel like is really unfortunate, because not only were they used against their will, it's not like they wanted to do it or signed up to do that, but now we're seeing footage of them marching where people are poking fun at them and then are making all sorts of accusations about it being a silent protest, etc. But let's just talk about the whole thing, your feelings on it, thoughts on it, and then what actually transpired and how that looks now.
Yeah, I mean, a couple of things. So I do think that they made the military look foolish, and not because they are foolish, but because like the U.S. Army doesn't do that sort of thing. I mean, they don't do this sort of like drills where they're just marching. I mean, you will have like parade reviews, which, is on a parade field. And if you've ever seen a parade field, it's very big,
Oh,
but
yeah.
it's not that big. Okay. So like you're marching for just not that long. Okay. So one thing about me is I'm really bad at estimating like distances and like number of people. I'm exceptionally bad at it. And I usually underestimate, so I don't want to say, but a parade field, it's bigger than a football field, but so let's just charitably say like half a mile. I mean, the parade route on Saturday was much longer than that. So also they were playing this like stupid music. And like in the Army, they have cadences for running to help regulate your breathing. Also, it just helps like someone's keeping time. And I noticed that wasn't happening. I do want to say, and this is just Rachel Vindman speculation, by the way, but a lot of people are saying that it was like a silent protest. And I just want to push back on that for a second, because I don't think the U.S. Army does that. Like,
Agreed.
It is a lawful but awful order. Something that my husband is working on is with Vote Vets is a hotline, if you will, a channel for soldiers, for any member of the military to reach out to a former judge advocate general in any of the services, and for these lawful but awful orders. So what is lawful? What is awful? What do you have to follow? And in anticipation of some of these orders coming down. Okay, the parade is definitely lawful, but awful.
Yeah.
And there was no, like, you can't object. And I mean, and you do that and you do it to the best of your ability, and that's it. There's no like quiet quitting in the military. That's not how it works. And we don't want it to work that way. So don't even like speculate. But so I don't think that happened. I think it was just really hard. We were asking them to do things they don't do. We don't do those kind of large displays, which I think was pretty awful. And if you look at it, it kind of looks like, as my husband said, I mean, anyone in the military will understand this. It looks like a bunch of sergeant majors or sergeants majors were like tasked with different things. And as someone who has just redone their house, as I mentioned, my husband has some ideas, and I'm like, no, we're not going to do that. That's not going to look good. So it's like what someone's version of, hey, this might look good, but like never having seen it and never having done it. It's like the first time. And then, I mean, hopefully with some retrospect, they would be like, yeah, that didn't actually work, but they don't know because they don't do this. So this was like the first time, and it was incredibly stupid, but it was very poorly attended, as you saw. I think one of the reasons why it was poorly attended is not out of a lack of respect for the military. No. I do think probably a lack of respect for Donald Trump, but also, again, not something we do. So it's like the first time, and he thought it was going to be like, everyone's going to love this, and they're going to think this is amazing. And there were even a lot of Republicans who were like, this is stupid. And even members of the military who said, this is not what we do. This is not who we are. It's not like the showy thing, and it's not like 1804, so no one needs to march into battle. So again, not something. But when people did march into battle, what was important? Having a drummer, having someone keeping that time, like having that done, and you didn't see that, so it was hard. And I also want to say the whole idea of celebrating our victories is like lots of old man energy there, right? Like that's just not where any of us are. I think like even Republicans or people like more center than us, Joe, let's just be honest. I don't even think they like celebrating your victories. Again, that just seems very like looking behind you and not what do we have. We're going forward, let's celebrate what's going forward. And so, yeah, that's
in the meantime, right? Like the juxtaposition of that, of looking backwards at military victories while actively undermining the men and women of our military and doing them great harm. I mean, the VA, they're still talking about firing another 80,000 employees at the VA. He's already fired more veterans than any president in our history. I mean, they've taken away services that the veterans need to survive. Critical, suicide prevention hotline defunding. I think they may have revisited that, et cetera. But you and I are our eyes very wide open as to who Donald Trump is.
We're fighting for things that we shouldn't have to be fighting for. So that's like energy that's spent doing that and defending programs that never should be on the chopping block. And I mean, that's the issue with that, is like, why are we even having to spend energy on this? We shouldn't. And, there is an article today in the Guardian. I don't know if you've had a chance to see it, but talking about VA and like giving permission not to treat unmarried veterans and not to treat Democrats. So it actually doesn't go as far. Yes, you'll have to read this. And I was trying to read it, but also trying to do a billion other things. You can look it up on the Guardian real quick if you want. But
Oh my God.
it doesn't actually say that physicians can make that choice, because there's a little thing called the Hippocratic Oath.
Yeah.
And but giving other providers, social workers, dentists, like it's pretty random, like permission to not treat certain patients, specifically in the VA. And Democrats is one of the broad categories of people that they would have the option not to treat.
Wow.
And I think we'll be hearing more about this week. But it is, I mean, it's unconscionable. I think, first and foremost, like, okay, I'll give you an example. When we lived in Moscow, we would be treated at a private clinic. It's called the European Medical Center. I mean, like, light on the whole European, but anyway, but it was a private medical center, which was like decent-ish. But like, you had to, I mean, I never went for an emergency situation. I kind of did, but it wasn't like, I'm talking like emergency, like you're having a heart attack or something like that, or, someone. So I actually knew someone who took their child in, and it was a very serious, like, she was having a seizure actually. So they, like, normally before they will even treat you, you need to have like a prior authorization from, we used a company in the UK, and they would fax it over or email it to you, and you would show them. It's all good. It's like a guarantee of payment. I think that's like literally what it's called. But when these people took their child in, they just were like flinging their credit card at them and like but they would not treat their child, a child in distress, a child having seizures, until they had that payment, or like, and it was too much time to get the guarantee of payment. So that is not something we experience in the US. I mean, I know there might be some degrees of it. You might not be able to stay in the hospital. I don't know. I am insured, thanks to my husband's service, and I have not experienced that. But if you need critical emergent care, you get it in the United States. Actually, thanks to the Hippocratic Oath, in a lot of ways, and like our system being built on that. That is not the case in other countries. So the idea that someone could be denied care, whether it's critical care or, actually care by a physician or other care, a social worker, which at the VA, they feel very important roles, you're talking about something very serious, because social workers help homeless veterans find homes, help veterans with animals, service animals, find a place that would accept their service animal. I mean, all kinds of things. When I was on hospital bed rest for 9 weeks, parking was $50 a day. The social worker from the hospital helped us work that out, because like we didn't have $50 a day to spend, and Alex was staying with me. This is when I was pregnant. So like, these are things like that the hospital social workers really work on, and the VA social workers. And to say, I don't have to help you because you're a Democrat, like, it is just an incredibly dangerous precedent. And these are the things that are under assault. And you know what, Joe? I actually really think a lot of this is, he is pissed off. I know you want to talk about the marches this week.
Well, I want to talk about this now because I'm looking at this article, but yeah.
He is pissed off that the military is not falling in line exactly how he wants, and he can't do what he wants with it. And now he's going to try to take it out on the VA, because I think it's a little bit easier to hit the VA than it is to hit the active duty troops. But he's absolutely doing that.
Oh, yeah.
But he is mad that things are not going the way he wants, which is music to my ears, because we know we're getting to him. I mean, yeah.
I mean, in particular, I would argue that anything affiliated with the military gets under his skin, and he wants to hurt it in any way possible.
Feelings of inadequacy, perhaps.
Yeah, this shit we could diagnose like the psychological issues that the baggage that motherfucker's carrying when it comes to our troops and our military, and he wants nothing more than to decimate the VA and to inflict as much retribution merely for existing as something with a code of honor and ethics and morality and decency and dignity and calling to a greater purpose other than himself. But I'm looking at this article now in The Guardian because this is it's literally the headline: extremely disturbing and unethical new rules allow VA doctors to refuse to treat Democrats' unmarried veterans. It doesn't apply to medical staff directly, but it says they are still required regardless of race, color, religion. However, this does apply to psychologists, dentists, and a whole host of other occupations. And it goes further, Rachel. They can also bar medical staff from working in VA hospitals based on their marital status, political party affiliation, or union activity. This is
sorry, I did read that.
insane.
I forgot that. I mean, I when I read it, I was like having trouble processing it.
Yeah, nurse practitioners, optometrists, podiatrists, licensed clinical social workers, and speech therapists. Friends, speech therapists. Let's just think for a second. Who needs a speech therapist? Who might benefit from a speech therapist that did nothing to anyone ever, but was born to somebody who needed the services provided by the VA? Children. Children who they are disproportionately harming on every level of the many prongs of this awfulness, including SNAP, cutting SNAP benefits, and Medicaid, and which will impact Medicare. But children are the ones who are really bearing the brunt of so much of this, and nobody talks about that. And I don't understand that. Yeah, he's actively hurting our military and firing or potentially barring from working anybody in a VA hospital because they're a Democrat. And
I mean, the reality is they're just not going to, we are not going to have people applying for these jobs because they are safe jobs. But by and large, but way back when, but people do it. I mean, I'm going to butcher his last name, Neil Katyal.
I think you got it right the first time.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
His wife, I met her in actually in the UK, Alex and he were participating in an Oxford Union debate, and she is a VA physician, and certainly she could make more not working for the VA, doing private practice. But she and I had a conversation. I just remember distinctly, about why she chose to work for the VA, why she works for the VA, why it's an important, to her, it's a service. Like everyone who works for the government, you're not going to get rich, but you're going to have a steady job. But it is a way of giving back and using your talents and your professional expertise to serve. And I, it was really beautiful talking to her. I mean, it stuck with me for 4 or 5 years, since then. So I do think there's so much, the average American just doesn't, it's not because they want to be ignorant or because they just choose to be. It's that, all these things have happened and functioned and we just never really given them a thought. But I mean, we know that there are improvements can be made in the VA, and a lot of improvements have been made. But whatever, these kind of rules, these kind of saying, it affects the ability to hire professionals to treat members who seek care at the VA, and additionally, it will affect the ability of who can receive care if they can choose this. Now, this is the VA. I could easily see this then moving to MTF's military treatment military treatment facilities, which like Walter Reed, I think it's the current Walter Reed. It used to be the National Naval Medical Center in Bethesda, but I think they closed the actual Walter Reed, and so now that one's called. And that is the uniform services, like military USHUs. It's like the uniform. It's like the medical school associated with the military. That's there, and that's where a lot of military physicians seek training. It is an amazing, incredible facility, but there are many of those around the country, and they are, by and large, really top-notch facilities, no matter where you are. And they rely heavily on both uniform personnel and civilian personnel. And if they're going to do this there, look, at the bottom line, I mean, people are going to be hesitant to apply for new jobs because of the instability.
Yeah.
But I could see them easily, if they get by with it at the VA, that they could turn to MTFs. And, that's just, it's very, very difficult to imagine this. And
yeah,
this is the place where he can really do it. Like because like Medicare and Medicaid, I mean, that's by regular providers, right? But this is something that's really all, both the VA and MTFs are all funded by government money. So it's a place where they could have an outsized effect and implement these horrible things. I'm sorry. I don't think I'm not doing a very good job articulating, because I literally just read it like an hour and a half ago, and trying to process what this actually means.
Yeah, and I mean, this is, like you said, it's going to have a direct and immediate impact on our military community, our veteran community, and they're going to feel this pretty quickly. And Donald Trump can do this, pretty unilaterally, which is also terrifying. And it is the kind of thing, because people are not as dialed in all the time. They can't be. Who I don't blame them on all of this. 10,000 moving pieces flood the zone with shit in a millisecond. Yeah. But this is why, if I could just reach through my camera and into the minds of our elected officials in the halls of Congress right now, this is why you have to tell those stories. This is why you have to go where these people are being impacted, because they're going to be medical centers and facilities that our veteran community needs that are going to shutter. They're going to close. They're not going to be able to get services that they need. They're going to start, well, they're not, if they haven't already, dying in larger numbers. And what the Democrats need to be doing is going and showing those stories, because the stories will move people, and these are not partisan issues. I mean, a lot of the military, former and current military, supports Donald Trump. They support Republicans, probably by default. I think a lot of them don't understand, which is why you show them, which is why you highlight what is actually being done, how it's actually impacting people. Instead, what they're doing is distracting us with, that small in the pants parade. And we now have to, be watching what's happening in cities like Los Angeles, where active Marines are on the ground detaining, of all things, veterans by mistake or whatever. But we have we have to tell the stories of what's actually happening, not just to the veterans because of the VA, but all over this country because of all of the cuts that they've been making. And they want us to not talk about this bill that they're trying to ram through reconciliation, that will, again, hurt the very Americans who think that Donald Trump has their back, who think that he's their champion. He doesn't give a fuck. He doesn't give a fuck. He doesn't care who dies. He doesn't care how many veterans die. He doesn't care kids die. He doesn't care.
It's very hard for me. I don't know how you feel, but in theory, I'm very open to talking to people and changing minds and having conversations. Then when I see some of these people say, I voted for him and I didn't vote for this, it makes my head want to explode. Like, I'm going to need a Xanax just to sit down and have a conversation with you. Because, like, what the fuck did you think would happen when there were people who literally holding up signs that say mass deportations now? We want mass deportations. I mean, what did you think when he was constantly talking about the woke military? And, like, where did you think this was going to go? That it wasn't ever going to hurt anything that might involve you? Because it's not like a surgery with a gamma knife and a robot. No, it's like with a sledgehammer, and just everything around it dies also. I mean, it just is cut and destroyed as well. So there's no precision here. Frankly, I don't think he knows how to be precise. Certainly the people around him don't. And I don't think they care. So it is very hard for me. And if you are a listener and it is hard for you as well, then I got you. I feel you so much, because it's just really, really challenging, and I struggle with it. But I think the best way, as you pointed out, to kind of get around that is to tell stories, because that's more compelling than, and then you can just show someone the story like, well, this is in this person's own words, and they're sharing their experience. And that, I think, is just a lot less subjective, if you will, because so I applaud people. I mean, that being said, it like takes all my strength and self-control to like not reply on some of these people who are, sharing these stories now, because again, it just makes my head want to explode. But we need that, and we need those storytellers, and we need those efforts. Unfortunately, I think we need a lot more as well. Like that, that's not, that in and of itself is not going to be enough. And we have to overcome people not hearing these stories and not hearing any of this news, because they tune into just regular mainstream media and get like their 30 minutes or whatever a day. And, this morning, Alex, I watched the local news, and he just kept on the TV, and then he changed it to ABC, and I was like, "What are you doing? We can't watch ABC." And he's like, no. "Okay, what happened?" So that was like 20 seconds, but and he was like, "Well, what do I watch?" And I was like, "Nothing. I just turn off the TV after the local news, like when the morning shows come on at 7." But we kept it on a little bit, and like both the Today Show and CBS This Morning were just so like nothing. I mean, you would never really know if you watched that there was like that all this is happening in the world, and there's really plenty of people that don't want to know, but they could literally watch the news and not know so much of what's going on. They hit on the parade a little bit, they hit on the protest a little bit, but I mean, they didn't say that there were like over 11 million people that went out and marched and protested. They didn't give numbers. They didn't talk about really that the parade was, I mean, it wasn't enough. I mean, and we have to really break through. That's why I love what you're doing. I love all these people who are trying to tell the stories, because it is incumbent on us who are informed to then inform other people. But I think that stories are the best way, because then it kind of puts this layer between you trying to convince someone. It's like, well, just look here, look at this, look at what's happening, what this person experienced. This is real.
Well, because then also a couple of things. They can see themselves, because they may see themselves or someone they know or someone they love, or they can hypothesize about that could be them, or that could be their daughter or their son or their nephew or their neighbor. But also, because there is such a relentless, sustained attack on facts and truth right now, and science and medicine and you name it, diseases, it's everything, because they are able to twist themselves into whatever kind of fucking pretzels they need to. And by they, I mean those who are propagandizing and those who want to receive messages that confirm their own preconceived notions and biases, right? There's going to be a segment of the population you cannot reach, and we understand that. But those who, a lot of people want to say, fuck around and find out, those who are saying, I didn't vote for this, I didn't know this was going to happen, I didn't understand, they can be reached. In my opinion, it's not easy, but the way to reach them is not to throw numbers at them or facts at them or science at them or whatever. You have to reach them by making them feel seen, and you do that by showing them stories they can relate to. But I want to talk about this attack again on truth and facts, and one of the things that they're doing right now, again, it is maddening. I used to, there was a cartoon I saw once, and it was the number 6. And on one side, the person said, I see a 6, and the other person said, I see a 9. And now you've got one person saying, I see a 6, and the other person is saying, I see an elephant. This is where we are now. Republicans see the elephant. And what we can put all the facts we want in front of them all day long, but a whole bunch of them are like, no, that's just not, I don't see that fact. And I want to talk about the Minnesota shooting, assassinations, plural, and attempted assassinations, because what they're doing right now, they did catch him, is what we saw all day long when it first happened was misinformation, disinformation, intentional poking, stoking, prodding, mislabeling this person as a Democrat because he was appointed to a bipartisan committee by Governor Tim Walz. There are other Republicans on this committee. His wife, I guess, was on it too. So they took that. Laura fucking Loomer. Hi, Laura Loomer. Thanks for the engagement, by the way. They took one little thing and turned that into the narrative. And now his best friend and roommate has come out and said first of all, he loves Trump, but that the shooter would be offended by being labeled a Democrat, that he was a Trump supporter, a Trump voter, and an InfoWars fan. And what they're telling me in every reply I get now is deep state, he's a liar, none of this is true. The Democrats were the ones.
Can you imagine? It's like the gaslighting. It's like being the mom of a teenager.
I know about that.
Yeah. But for real, like, I just was talking to Alex about this yesterday. As soon as it happened, Mike Lee, what a fucking weirdo that guy is, and just a total motherfucking asshole.
Yeah,
but
psychopath.
You get out there, you get in front of it, you first lies catch on, and then it spreads like wildfire, and it doesn't matter. And these people are totally untethered to the truth. So it was in the Daily Caller, and he's saying all this stuff like, no, it was the Democrat, and people hear that and they just walk away because it's all they want to know.
Yep.
Democrat, and they don't care, and they'll never hear the actual truth.
Nope.
And that's why this is so dangerous, this place where we are, because they hear the confirmation of what they want. That stuff is like, there have been a million stories, probably, okay, not a million, but there have been, I don't know, I mean, like many stories already generated on Facebook and other socials. It catches on, and then they might retract it, or maybe not. I mean, the Daily Caller is not going to retract it, but let's say Fox News retracts it, or they come up, they say the truth later. It doesn't matter, because people have already heard a lie that they desperately want to be true. So they will never hear it again. I mean, it is the whole, you can't unring a bell, you can't unsay words, you can't undo any of this. It is about, just coming back, and that's why they were so eager to get in front of it. And I think they probably knew the truth from the very beginning, but it's what is so heartbreaking. And I just don't think that Democrats are very good at countering it. Maybe it's not possible to be good at countering the lies that confirm what people already want to believe. It's really, really hard. When Donald Trump was elected the first time in 2016, I was the spouse of an active duty soldier, and I wasn't for him, but I wasn't like super engaged. Just going to confess that. Now people will hate me because I admit this, but whatever.
No, I think a lot of people weren't.
No, I know, but this happens all the time. Like, I mean, and I'm just like, okay, yes, I'm new to this, but I'm here now. Whatever. I mean, it's okay. But the point is, like, I just remember like the whole talk about Facebook at the time. And some friends of ours came over. He was actually working at the White House, the National Security Council, on the run up to the election. And, Obama, they knew like the Russia angle. They knew that Russia was amplifying stuff. These were actually friends of ours that we knew from the embassy in Moscow when we lived there. And they were living in DC at the time. So, he was basically saying like, yeah, I mean, they're not going to say much about it because like, they just really didn't think that there was any chance that Trump would win. And they didn't try, even though they knew this was happening. Everyone knew this was happening. And I remember thinking at the time, yeah, but they're amplifying something that people already want to believe. So they're not like getting new people.
Right.
And that was a huge mistake. I was completely wrong on that. But I see it now that you see the way that is. I mean, it is true, but it kind of just further entrenches people to the side. However, we've seen the stories. I actually don't think it's as widespread as people want it to believe, and we should very much caution ourselves in the run up to the midterms, is that people are like, oh, all these people have buyer's remorse. And just a couple weeks ago, I was at an event with Ken Martin. It was our local Broward County Democrat gala, and he said there's buyer's remorse. And I'm like, actually like Ken Martin a lot, but I'm not sure how true that is. I mean, he might meet people every day, and we see people on TV talking about it, but I just don't know how widespread it is. And I'm very hesitant to believe that it's super widespread, because I don't know. I am so curious to hear your thoughts. Let me just finish this thought though. But I think that we have to be very careful, because people are telling us like, oh, I thought he was going to fix the economy, and they just heard they heard what they wanted to hear. There was a few months ago, there was the woman in Michigan and she lost her job because of Doge, but she voted for him because he said he was going to make IVF free. I'm like, how would you make it? I mean, like, just the notion is so simplistic, but when you're desperate, because I've been through infertility and I've used IVF and it is very expensive and like,
Oh yeah.
you know, it was really, really hard. Like, I guess it's just like grasping at anything. And to me, when you see people doing that, you realize, hey guys, this system is not working for a lot of people in our country. Like,
Right.
it is not, like, there's a lot, because if you're willing to latch on to those things, there's something fundamentally that's really, really wrong. And are we addressing that and speaking to people where they are? And that's something I've been thinking about a lot lately, the whole idea of that. But
Yeah.
I mean,
As
what do you think about the whole? Sorry, go ahead.
as far as the buyer's remorse thing being widespread,
Yeah.
I think that there are a lot of stories that get a lot of attention that a lot of people spread around on social media that are not necessarily indicative of the whole. And I would caution, to your point, I would caution anyone seeking any office of any kind not to get ahead of themselves or too far over their skis on that, because if you're going to be talking to people about things they don't feel, you're never going to land the messages you're trying to deliver. We ran into this very problem in the 2024 election, where even though our economy was getting stronger, even though things were improving and jobs were growing and the numbers were moving in the right direction, because we were losing the messaging war so often, Americans were being gaslit into believing that things were worse than they actually were. And they were gaslit into believing that by the people who are right now in power, who have no intentions of improving any of that. And while they do that, they're being very calculated and very smart and very savvy. I hate to give them credit for anything, but they have all the tools in place, the machinery in place to make you think you are feeling something you're not, or that something is true that it's not. It's gaslighting, right? It's propaganda. So what are they doing? Anything that's wrong is Biden's fault still. Somehow, and I apologize, they're doing some kind of tree work or something, if you can hear that. But somehow, all of the bad things are, well, not just Joe Biden's fault, because what is crucial and critical and absolutely fundamental to any of this working is they, them, those people. Whether or not they, them, those people are the brown people that you know in your pizza place and at your grocery store and then the school drop-off line, or whether or not they are the criminals that they put on TV and they make you think it is, right? It's they, them, those people, or it's they, them, those people, the transgender child on your daughter's softball team who doesn't exist. They are the threat to you, to your way of life. They're coming for your fill in the blank. They're coming for your job. They did it today. They're coming for your job. They're coming for your wife. They're coming for your kids. They're coming for your freedom. They're not eating the dogs and the cats, but they have to do all of this so that you think, not you, because you're very smart, very savvy, and you're very dialed in, but most people are actually not. And so when they get you there, they can tell you anything. And I think right now, those stories of, I didn't vote for this, they came for me, I'm a Muslim American, they promised me, I'm a Hispanic, a Latina American in Miami, I'm Venezuelan, I'm whatever, Haitian, you name it. Those are some stories, but I don't think it's as pervasive as the Democrats would like us to believe, because they're still winning the messaging war. Why are they winning the messaging war? Because our party looked at 2024 and said, do we need to fix any of this? Nah. No, let's go back to exactly the same way we were doing things, exactly the same third party, the same consultancy class, the same intermediaries who run in between the elected officials and the people, and utilize social media creators to spread bullshit that doesn't do anything, move the needle, hashtags, and they're not winning the messaging war. And
but they're getting engagement, Joe. Look at all the impressions they get. You really don't think? I know. Sorry, like, it makes me sick. When I hear someone talk about the number of impressions, I just want to like throw my computer. It's absolute, because people are making money on it. I mean,
it's like the Republicans and their yard signs. Impressions are Democrats' yard signs. I don't give a fuck. Yard signs don't vote. Impressions don't vote, friends.
Yeah, I mean, it's. We just get all in our heads and all in like the DC consultant class, like, believe their stuff. Let me just tell you something. All the people who made money, all the Democrat consultants, they made money whether Kamala won or not. Yeah. It doesn't matter. I mean, see, they still get paid. So they can give you bad advice, and they can tell you make these ads with us. We'll be better. Send out these mailers. I mean, my God, mailers? Are you fucking kidding me? Like, and
that doesn't change a vote.
I'm just gonna say something. I might get in trouble for this, but my brother-in-law, because my husband donated to my brother-in-law's campaign, he was on his list, and we kept getting mailers, and I was like, I come in one day and I'm like, who is sending these? Who is sending these to us? Like, we can't even vote in Virginia. And why are we getting this? To give him more money? Like, we've already maxed out and given like as much as we can give. Like, I do not want these mailers anymore. It is a waste. It is like travesties to the environment. Like, it is, I mean, like, I could go on and on and on, but like,
changes nothing.
Yeah, I mean, and who is telling someone that mailers are the answer and that they change minds? And if they tell me that, how are you measuring this? Like, do you have some sort of control group? Like, this is so nonsensical. But like, you say that and people lose their minds because they've always done mailers, and why not? Like, and by the way, there are ways to do mailers like a lot less expensively, but they don't want you to know that sort of thing. And there are companies who will do that, but they can't break through because all these people are controlling it. Like, it's bad. When people talk about the money in politics and how it affects things, I actually really think that's true, but not the way most people think it's true. I don't think it's like the super PACs and that's not the money that ruins it. The money is like the political industrial complex and all the people that make money off of this thing. And that's why it's been so hard for content creators like you and others to get elevated, because people are pushing you down. And you have like Jake fucking Tapper, who is like so afraid that at the end of the day, what started all this stuff with Jake Tapper and the Biden administration is that the Biden administration gave access to people that Jake didn't seem worthy. And if you think that Jake doesn't think he's better than everyone else, I got the screenshots of the text to myself and my husband and the DMs to show you that he really does. He thinks he is better than everyone and more equipped and better to give information to the American people. And that's what he is. And it's not just him. I mean, he is one of many people. And they truly believe that this is their right to tell these stories and to give this information. So that kind of animosity and everything has been upended. And frankly, like, the Republicans and Trump upended it, and the Democrats are slow on the uptake, because all during the Biden administration, I kept saying, like, look, you and I went to the White House. We were eviscerated for it. Like, we went to like this thing, and it was like for content creators, which are influencers, which I'm really not that, but I was there, you were there, and they were coming in, and it was like person after person who was like, look, we've done this cool thing and this cool thing. And I was like, yeah, it's great. And they're like, help us tell people about it. And I was like, but you don't understand. Like, you have to tell people about it. You have to connect the dots for people. Like, we can say it too, but we're also talking to the same people. You need to talk to other people.
Yeah.
And you need to get the message across. I mean, the best messenger is the president, and I'll never really understand why Biden didn't talk about it more. But I think he was like done a lot with like the traditional media, which totally understandable.
Yeah.
And I'm not here to rehash any of this, but the point is, it has changed the way people receive information from politicians, the way they expect politicians to talk to them. That all has changed. And the Republicans have figured that out, and we need to figure that out also.
1,000 trillion percent.
You're doing amazing things to help people, to help like electeds understand how to carry that message. And like, now that my brother-in-law is in Congress, like, they probably hate it, but I will, like, because I know it doesn't go to him. Like, sometimes, like, actually we were on a cruise with them, and there's like some Instagram story that was like literally just his tweet, a tweet that he had like as an Instagram story. And I was like, what the hell is this? And it wasn't, I mean, it was his office, but I sent it, and I was like, what is this? And then they changed it, and they basically did the same thing again, just in a bigger font. And I was like,
adorable.
Sorry, I don't think you heard me. Like, you're just doing a tweet as an Instagram story, and that's not what Instagram is. Like, they're sort of, I mean, they're trying, but I'm like, you could do this better. But he had like this amazing like thing about like questioning Pete Hegseth, and I'm like, talk about this, make clips of that.
Yeah.
Like, put that on socials, put that on Instagram. Like, and I know nothing.
Yeah.
You could. I mean, but like, I'm like, you've got to like get in there and figure it out. And not because, like, actually not a lot of Republicans are even doing this, but the point is, change the way you're thinking about it. Change the way you're doing these things.
Yeah.
To get that stuff out there,
Yeah.
it's just so critical. But you have to understand, right, wrong, or indifferent, we have changed the way we expect to receive information from politicians. And Donald Trump changed that from 2016 to 2020. And we have to understand that and receive it. And not just us as whatever we do. I have trouble like whatever defining what I do, but I mean, electeds themselves have to point the camera at their face and talk. And just, if it's 5 minutes a day, talk directly to people, because that is really what people desperately want, because they've seen Trump do it.
Exactly. And I'm just looking at my Twitter feed because 10 years ago today was the fucking gilded escalator ride from hell. I was watching it. I remember exactly where I was. I was on the little stair stepper machine at the gym, and I was laughing my ass off watching it with no sound. And then I saw later the clips of the Mexicans are rapists and all of that. But I remember in real time thinking, this is, I mean, everyone in New Jersey knows that I've grown up here, right? So everybody knows that Donald Trump's a joke. So I'm watching it laughing, but here we are. And to your point, in the space of 10 years, that party, the party that my father was a part of until George W. Bush, by the way. My dad, an immigrant who paid his love for this country forward in service to both the Army Reserves and the Department of Defense as a weaponry engineer. My dad's Republican Party has turned itself into a fucking cult of personality in the space of 10 years. No, it didn't start 10 years ago. 10 years ago was well down the tracks from where they started. But what they've done in the meantime, in those 10 years, is flip themselves inside out. They're wearing their skin on the inside now and their organs on the outside, because they understood in what they've always done, whether you go back to the Southern strategy or whatever you want to call it. I mean, whatever they've done over the course of their existence is they change, they adapt. It's not good. These are shameless creatures, but they have done it to survive. They are survivalists. And here they are surviving in a world where they understand how people receive information, where we want it, how we want it, when. And our party, the smarter arguably party, the more creative arguably party, is like, no, let's just keep doing things the same. Why? Because we think we're smarter, because we think we have some license to the creativity, because we think just because we have right on our side, because we have the issues on our side, that's enough. But it's not. And I'll just take this one step further, because I had a meeting with a very prominent Democrat myself. It wasn't a one-on-one. It was myself and I was with 9 other creators across the spectrum of platforms. And I wanted to make sure that my voice was heard. It was my one shot with this very prominent Democrat. And I'm not going to say who it was. And my advice to this prominent Democrat was, right now, go to your phone. This was the day of the Zelensky Oval Office meeting. Go to your phone. Pick up your phone, talk to your phone, put what you feel on social media right now. Why? Because the American people, the people around the world who are watching this shit show, are feeling a certain kind of way. And they're looking around for people to confirm that the certain kind of way they're feeling is legit, and that they're not alone, and that you're going to do something about it. And you know what? It took a little while, but this certain Democrat has all of a sudden started doing this every single day. And I'm not saying that's because of me, but I'm not saying it's not. I'm also saying it's also not rocket science, and I didn't fucking invent the wheel. This shit is easy. This is what you do, and this is the world around you. And the slower we've been to pick this up, the more damage we've done to our country, to our party, to our democracy. And the Democrats are really good at playing catch up. That I will say. We were slow on the school boards. We caught up and we surpassed them, because we do have right on our side. But we got to catch up, and we are way the fuck behind.
Yes, 100%. I'm 1,000,000%. I think the issue here is we can catch up because we do have right on our side and we have truth on our side. And people are like, oh, wait, I actually don't want this. But there is an arrogance that comes. I mean, the reason why I currently live in South Florida is because I couldn't afford to move to California. And I had to get out of DC because I hate it. Because it's like this pervasive, like, everyone thinks they're better than everyone else. I can't take it. Or like everything, it's like, what do you know? I mean, it's just, it's not my kind of place. And I always just there's a lot of things there. I also couldn't afford to live there, in a lot, and where I wanted to, and so there was a lot, but mostly I don't like the attitude. I want to live out with real people, and I want
Yeah.
to be out of that bubble. There's too many people who never leave that bubble,
Right.
and they don't know what like the rest of us in the real world are experiencing. I'll tell you, I live in South Florida. This idea that people regret their vote and that they're upset about like the immigration and things that are happening. Yeah, it's not as much as you think it is. The idea that the Cuban community is like, wait a second, nope, I'm not seeing it. And I have like a Cuban general contractor working on my house. We're like, I just like, it has to change their minds. So people need to like understand it's not just going to happen because you think it should. Like there is work to do to get to that point. It's really, really important. And then we also have this issue in Florida. I hope I'm not giving too much information away, but yes, my husband was what is the word? Approached about running for Senate and to fill the rest of Rubio's term, because we will vote in the midterms, and then 2 years later we will vote for the whole term. So Ashley Moody is presumably going to be the nominee. That's what we think, and so it'll be. So if you run now, then basically you have like 3 years of campaigning, because you will just immediately roll into the other campaign. But the problem in Florida is like the Republicans have 1.3 million more registered voters than Democrats. And like, we saw like in the special elections in Florida, who I think a very dishonest person came in. There was an article in the New York Times, you can Google it. A person who came in and raised a lot of money for the special elections. And yes, we did gain some ground, and we lost by fewer votes or percentage points than certainly in the general election in November. And there was the one county that they even flipped, which was a big deal. And did some grassroots work and registered voters, got some word out. All that stuff is true.
Yeah.
But what if those tens of millions of dollars have been spent on a partisan voter registration effort? What if that had been worked because grassroots stuff is great, but it costs money. You can't just you have to put work in. You have to buy lists if you're going to do like phone banking. Like you can't just none of this stuff just happens. And this is the part where money, and I see too many people now be like, yes, I'm going to support candidates. I'm never going to support the DNC. And like, look, I get it, but we need to have a serious talk about this, because who else do you think PACs are going to PACs will make their own list, but they're sure as fuck not going to share it with anyone, because they spend a lot of money on it. Like the DNC, when they put this stuff together, they're going to share it with groups, and they're going to try to make it as accessible as possible so people can use it. It's a lot more equitable. Yeah. And I'm just like, this is the part where the money comes in that people don't understand, and you probably don't want to think about it. I mean, I don't want to think about it either. But like spending money on ads and mailers and all this stuff, it doesn't actually move the needle where we need to move the needle. Right. And there are places where, I think Nikki Fried, our chair of the Democratic Party of Florida, is amazing. She's done incredible work, but she also needs money. She also needs resources to be able to do some of these things. And I just feel like people are a little bit missing the forest for the trees when they're like, I want to support candidates. And I know candidates who are doing call time right now, and that's what people are hearing time and time and time and time again. I'll support you, but I'm never going to give money to the DNC again. Yeah. And I'm not like the biggest rah party politics thing. I mean, I've never been this person, but I see the utility of it, because no one else is going to spend money in these places. And we need to spend the money to develop these things. And I don't know, maybe that's neither here nor there, but I think it's a really important thing to talk about when we're just talking about this whole thing about changing minds and changing the way we think about things. I actually think that Ken Martin and the DNC are thinking about these things, and it's really good. I mean, a lot of people like David Hogg, and they support trying to change things up and do things. And I don't want to get into that, but I do want to say we only resources are finite. And if we're talking about spending lots of money to primary someone and it's a safe Dem seat, I just don't know that that's the work we need to do right now. Yeah. I mean, it's like you maybe you want to get a new roof, but it's not, but like if you need a new air conditioner, that's what you should do right now. You know,
Yeah.
like you should do the thing that is like the most immediate thing right now. And you can look at that later. And it's definitely an investment, and it might change like, you know, how like energy efficient your home is. And it's certainly something to think about. But like if you have something that's broken, like go ahead and get the hot water tank. Like that's what you need if you like enjoy hot showers. Like that's something that's, so I just feel like we cannot do it all, and all these things do cost money. So we should take a beat, because everyone with a good idea, like we can't indulge every good idea when we're in the middle of this like truly a battle and a real
that's
fight.
the thing.
And I don't want to, you know, make this about you, like, but I do think that you have figured out this thing that a lot of people, for whatever reason, I mean, I think it's kind of a lack of authenticity, or they're too much in their head, or they overthink it about how to really share this stuff. So it's like at the end of the day, it's not that hard. Communicate with people directly. I love the story you told, because point that camera at your face and just tell a story. Alex did it at the protest this weekend. I was like, he needs to get one of those like fuzzy little mics that everyone has.
Yeah.
And then also I was like, could you put a smile in your voice? Would it kill you to like smile a little bit? So we're working on this, but it is kind of this thing of like, just people know this, but confirm it, you know, make them think that they're not the crazy one, because I'm always like, am I the crazy one? And Alex is like, yes, of course you are. But, you know, but like, make people like, because people who they're like looking to the people who know to be like, is this really it? Is this really happening? Is this really true?
Yeah.
And yes, I think, you know, it is. And we have to do that. I have to go now because my trainer here has have a workout with my husband, which we're very competitive. So
I love that.
We work out together when we're both in town, which seems like we're kind of, he's been traveling still a lot for his book and doing different things, but it's always so great to talk to you. And I just encourage everyone to stay informed and to share as much as possible, not to lose hope, but not to get an overly rosy picture of where we are right now as well. So just keep an even keel, but make sure you're staying informed, as hard as that is. Protect your peace, but we have to be out there and fight. This is us. It's a Sisyphean task some days, but that's okay. We can do it. And especially if we're all there together. And if the marches this weekend didn't show you that you're not alone, then nothing else will. But I think that is what I heard. We were in Asheville, North Carolina, like no one we knew, but we were there and we made friends, and we just we're so heartened by everyone who was there. And I know Donald Trump is very upset about the protest and the marches this weekend. So that means we're doing something right.
Bingo.
Let's keep on going.
Yep. Thank you so much, Rachel. I'm so always inspired by you. And yes, the marches this weekend, the largest they say in U.S. history. Fucking amazing. Just like, let's keep that energy. Like, don't
marches like no one has ever seen before. You're right, Donald Trump. And they were all against you.
That's right.
Yes. And numbers no one has ever seen. Yes.
I mean, that's how much we hate people think he's divisive. Look at him unifying the whole fucking world.
I know.
Unifier in chief right there. Good job. Yes. Well, thank you so much, Rachel. I will see you soon. Actually, I think I physically will see you soon. So
yes, you will. I'm excited.
Thank you.
All right. Bye.
Bye. I want to thank Rachel for sharing her perspective and resilience with us today. If there's one thing this weekend has shown, it's that democracy doesn't defend itself, and neither does decency. Whether you're marching in the streets, speaking out online, or just refusing to look away, you are part of this fight too. If you found something in this conversation that resonated, please rate and review Sanish, share it with your community, and follow me and Rachel on Substack and social media. We need each other now more than ever. Stay strong, stay sane-ish, and remember, no kings, no tyrants, no surrender.